This is exactly what Patriots fans wanted, as after an impressive Week 2 victory on the road versus the Miami Dolphins, there was still a lot to improve on. The game was very sloppy. However, there was lots and lots of improvement from Week 1 and stuff to build on as well as we achieved the first win in the Mike Vrable era. Welcome to Patriots Digest, everybody. I'm Jace Andrews, and I appreciate you tuning in to today's show. We have much to discuss about the positives to take away from today's contest. Before that, though, if you're looking for daily free Patriots content, we've got you covered. So hit that subscribe button, 100% free, as I said, and we're going to keep you in the know about everything related to the New England Patriots. Let's talk about it. 33-27, the Patriots are able to swim out with a victory from the Miami Dolphins, and it was a very intriguing game. Patriots got off to a quick 12-0 lead, 12-0 because our kicker, Andy Borges, could apparently not kick the ball when extra points. That was kind of crazy. We'll talk about that later on in the show. But then a slow second quarter, 3 points for the Patriots, 14 for the Dolphins. But a good second half, 8 points for the Patriots, including a 2-point conversion for Rhamondre Stevenson, who had a heck of a game, and 10 points in the fourth quarter, including a kick return from Mr. Antonio Gibson. I tell you what, I said some things that it should have been TreVeyon Henderson all the way through, and boy was I wrong, because today Antonio Gibson and Rhamondre Stevenson are the real reason you were able to win this game, along with Drake Maye's performance, and we'll talk about his offensive line as well. But let's kind of get going here, talk about the stats with Drake Maye, because he had an impressive game. 19 for 23, 261 total yards, 3 total touchdowns, including one of those being a rushing touchdown. So fantastic game here for Drake Maye. It's what you wanted to see after what was it was a pretty bad week 1. I mean, it wasn't in terms of, the stat sheet a horrendous game, but if you're looking at a guy who was, 4th overall pick last year and you want him to be your franchise quarterback, then that's not the week 1 you want him to have, but this was definitely the week 2 you wanted him to have. Look confident, look collective, and for all the noise this week talking about, maybe Drake Maye has too much on his plate, maybe Drake Maye isn't fit for this, this was a perfect response, and from a stud with Drake Maye, who is still very, very young. You gotta remember, this kid is still early 20s. Lots and lots of stuff to remember. We have to talk about this running back room, though, because I honestly cannot even put my surpriseness in words. Like, that's how surprising I think this game was. They split the carries pretty evenly. 11 for Rhamondre Stevenson, ended up with 54 yards. Drake Maye had 10 carries, 31 yards with a touchdown. 5 for Antonio Gibson, 3 for TreVeyon Henderson. Gibson had 27 yards, and TreVeyon had 10 yards. Gibson had a bigger piece in this game, though, obviously, with that kick return. Kind of an interesting thing. I want to show you this very cool stat. I found it today, but it is kind of crazy because Malik Washington returned a 74-yard punt right before Antonio Gibson returned his 90-yard kickoff touchdown. It marks the second time in NFL history a punt return touchdown was immediately followed by a kick return touchdown. The last one was Week 2, 1992, when it was Desmond Howard and Deion Sanders. Kind of some crazy names there to put with Antonio Gibson and Malik Washington, but still, very big reason why the Patriots won this game was because of that kickoff return. And you could see Mike Vrable's excitement running on the sidelines. Not a fast guy, we'll say that. Definitely not a fast guy, but hey, he was doing his best, and it was a pretty good rushing attack all throughout it, over 100 yards combined from everybody. So a pretty good rushing game. However, I do want to talk about the reason this rushing attack was good, the reason Drake Maye had such a good performance. And I believe it's Will Campbell. It's your draft pick. It's a guy who you needed to be good at number 3 overall, and he has shown, at least this week, that he's worth that pick. Last week, there's questions on this. This week, he does exactly what you expect a top-round lineman to do. 33 pass pro snaps, 1 pressure, no QB hits, no hurries, no sacks allowed. Now, I'm not going to say that this Miami Dolphins defensive line is anything close to the Raiders' defensive line or really most defensive lines in the National Football League. But it is still a defensive line in the National Football League, and Will Campbell did what you asked. And that's the big thing. And it wasn't just Will Campbell. You talk about this entire offensive line, and it was a very good performance and a very good showing from them all. Drake Maye was under pressure on just 19.4% of its dropbacks versus the Dolphins. That's the first game of his career he's faced a pressure rate under 20%. And I believe that is a huge reason why the success for Drake Maye was shown today. You talk so much about how important offensive line is, especially for a young quarterback in Drake Maye, but I think you can't put much more emphasis on it than what we're seeing with the Cincinnati Bengals. Today, Joe Burrow got hurt again because his offensive line cannot protect him. But guess what? When he is protected, it does great. For Drake Maye, this offensive line was abysmal last year. I questioned even putting him out there just for the simple fact that I didn't want him to get injured. And that's really why Joe Milton played in the last game of the year against the Bills. Now you have an effective offensive line, at least as it shows for week 2. Again, this is not a great defensive line for the Miami Dolphins. I still think there is work to be done on the offensive line, but still a good showing and a good performance, and I'm going to give their flowers to them for it. And that produced a very good Drake Maye outing as well. So I think for all the people this week that were talking about Drake Maye, talking about, I don't know if he's worth it, I don't know if he's good enough, I stand on it, and I've seen the comments of the Patriots need a new quarterback. They do not. Drake Maye is that guy. Drake Maye is the franchise quarterback, and Drake Maye will be the one to lead this team back to the promised land, and you can mark my words. The receiving staff today, pretty good showing all around. Big catch from Kayshon Boutte. He only had one catch on one target. I would have liked to seen a little bit more from him, especially after the outing he had last week. I understand the coverage was more toward him, but still pretty good reception. Got the touchdown, 4 receptions for 32 yards for Stefon Diggs. Other touchdown went to Matt Collins, 1 for 8 yards. Demario Douglas finally got out of the negatives, 1 for 8 yards. But big day for Rhamondre Stevenson. 5 receptions for 88 yards. Already talked about his rushing performance. Had a 2-point conversion, so no touchdowns, but does get in the end zone. And I can't speak to, that for Rhamondre Stevenson. This running back room is very good top to bottom, and I think TreVeyon will be the future. But Rhamondre was an early draft pick here a while back, and he's still got a lot of pep in his step and looked really, really good today. Also, it's nice to see Austin Hooper getting the three catches on 3 targets for 38 yards, because we know the Patriots love to hit Hunter Henry, and Drake Maye has kind of a safety blanket with Hunter Henry, so they're going to put a little extra guy on Hunter Henry, and Austin Hooper, if he can also become a safety blanket for Drake Maye and that tight end position, it really would speak volumes to the way this offense is able to grow and become a huge piece of it. But I've talked a lot about the offense and the positives there, and I like to talk positive, especially after a win, so I'm going to keep it that way. But I am going to move to the defensive side of the ball. You talk about 2 guys who were big free agent signings. I know Harold Landry was marked as a bad signing. I had a different take on it personally, just because I know what he's capable of with the Titans, and I also believe that him and Mike Vrable have a very, very special connection, and the way Harold Landry was used with Mike Vrable as to where he was used last year, it's a very different thing, and he's being used the proper way this year once again, and it's paying dividends. Milton Williams obviously had the game-sealing sack, and through 2 games, he has 2 sacks, 9 pressures, and 3 stops. Harold Landry had the sack on 3rd and 7 that led to the Milton Williams sack. I mean, back-to-back big sacks, and you get 4 sacks for Harold Landry, 10 total pressures, and 7 stops through 2 games. 2 of the Pats' biggest free agent signings have been home runs. Robert Spillane has also been great. I think he is very underrated and not talked about just because we haven't gotten to mention his name much, but as a linebacker and the way he plays linebacker, I think that's a good thing. Usually they're dropping him into coverage, not much of a blitzing linebacker. I do believe that the signings made on defense were specifically to make a defense projected that the way that Mike Vrable wants to run his defense, as you would expect the new head coach, and it's working out perfectly. I understand that if you look back at the score, 27 points is not a good showing, and I totally get that. But a punt return is a part of that, so, immediately take off 7 points. So you're talking 20 points allowed by the defense. And then on top of that all, I think that there was a couple of missing pieces, i.e. Christian Gonzalez. Carlton Davis looked fantastic, and if we can get Gonzalez back, if we can get Gonzo, I truly do think this defense will be one of the better ones in the NFL. One last thing I want to talk about, though. Andy Borregales, whatever his name is, Borregales. I need to get the name right. But either way, the Miami rookie kicker. He paid dividends at the end of the game. Got a long field goal, a couple long field goals. But he missed the first 2 extra points. Hence why the Patriots were in somewhat of a tough position at that late part of the game. They were down by 2, had to go score. Obviously, it didn't matter what the fourth quarter and what happened there, but that needs to be fixed because the Patriots do not have a safety net at kicker. They chose Andy. They went with Andy. You've got to make those kicks. And he said that after the game. He said, I got to be better. And that's great because the Patriots won, and, that's a great thing. But missing 2 extra points, even though you're hitting a 53-yard field goal, got to be cleaned up. You cannot have key extra points missed. Now, today, luckily, it didn't matter, but let's say in the future, it just cannot happen. I know the NFL extra points longer. Obviously, it's different than college with the way that the uprights are labeled, but you got to be able to hit that kick. With that being said, though, I want you to grade today's Patriots performance from A, B, C, or D/F. Let me know down in the comment section, what do you think the Patriots' performance deserved in today's contest, A, B, C, D, or F? I'm going to go a B, a straight B. No plus, no minus, right in the middle. I think there was a lot of stuff they can improve upon. The kicking game, the defense wasn't fantastic. However, they did a lot of good things, and the biggest reason for me why I'm not giving them a C is the positives that we look at were negatives from last week. We're seeing improvement. We're seeing that offensive line. We're seeing Drake Maye look more calm and collected. We're seeing him be more fluid with the ball. We're seeing Rhamondre Stevenson be a lot more positive. I still want to see more of TreVeyon Henderson. I still believe he deserves that call, but at the same time, I think it's a very good thing for the Patriots, and so I'm going to go with a B. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section, but for now, we appreciate you. We'll see you next time here on Patriots Digest. Peace out, guys.